couple minutes late. If you hear noises, I apologize. I was trying to wait to see if the outside noises around the neighborhood would finish, and I don't believe they are. So, hello, good morning, happy Friday. Yes, so, guys, my fire is going, right? Welcome to the summer. Those that know Stars of the Morning Light and myself, Courtney the host, they know that in the summer, man, I start going, which is what we all end up doing, really. Normally, because I'm going back and finishing up my Hermetic stuff for everybody, that I started a long time ago. Normally, this is called like lesson 1, because I'm still trying to do lesson 1, and I'm going through all of the Hermetic principles. From the last one, we're moving backwards through them. Good morning, Miss Lori. Good to see you, my dear. We are going backwards through them, and we are reaching towards the end. But because I got a lot of fire today. I got a lot of fire. My fire is my flame, as we talk about in Toth the Atlantean stuff. My flame it's going today. So today is going to be a very long, probably, because I looked at where I was kind of guided to where to start reading in the Corpus Hermetica, and I went, okay, and I'm going to have a lot to read, a lot to say. So instead of saying lesson 1, good morning, Shelley, good morning, Seeker, as I was going through it, I went, all right, this is just going to be one big, long rant. We are technically supposed to be in correspondence, which everything's correspondence, really. All correspondence is really doing is it's breaking down how all is mentalism, all is mind. That's why it's actually the second principle is like, oh, you can't get your head around, you can't get all your thoughts around, all is mind. Well, then let's break all this stuff down into these principles so you can better understand. Hence why we started on the back end and worked our way up. So, but today, like I said, I'm just going to do a whole lot of Hermetics, folks. A whole lot. And I apologize because, when my fire gets going, it can come out a little bit crazy. Good morning, Ann. It's good to see you. But also, I've said this before, and I don't mean to. It's not that I mean to. But I take a lot of what I know for granted, and I forget that I started so many years ago, and I also grew up in a household that had this kind of material around more so than other material to read, right? Sitting around with a bunch of, hippies and whatnot talking about this stuff. So I kind of take for granted that I've been doing it longer. So I'm trying to get as much out there as I can for society, so society can really start obtaining this information. Anyways, and for those who have never been here, I kind of babble for a minute to see as people come into the chat. Most of my shows are live, so if you're looking for something, go to the live section. That's usually I am live. I am not one to edit and all that jazz, because I'm just not. I'd rather just do it as it's supposed to be. And the card we pulled, nice. Number 36, Prosperity. I also pull a card at the beginning as people are coming into the chat. Good morning, happy Friday, everybody. I hope the weather and life is serving you well. Number 36, Prosperity. The frequency of prosperity supports our feeling of well-being by allowing the inclusion of everything that makes our body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit sing. and invites us to express ourselves in joy, celebration of the abundance and the riches of the universe that the universe provides. I'm going to turn on my other light. I did not think I needed it, but I am now understanding I do. So, prosperity. And there's that beautiful sacred geometry. As we study Hermetics, it is nice to visually see the sacred geometry attached to these frequencies. Very nice. You know, and tonight, for any of my patrons out there, tonight is the new moon in Taurus. I love when Taurus is in the new moon because Taurus is stability, prosperity, that kind of thing. What fills our joy. And so, once again, yay, I'm going to continuously, I started this Wednesday with the Edgar Casey stuff. I'm going to, as much as I can remember, to continuously say this to people. I'm going to keep reminding people that it is time, folks, for us to kind of step up to plate, step up to bat. You know, I kept thinking that term, you know, step up to plate, step up to bat, you know. And then I thought the other day, do the young people still use baseball analogies, you know, or use them as metaphors and this and that, and then Lucky Stone 888 did this entire video using baseball to bring home a point, and I was like, oh, okay, we're all using baseball. 'Tis the season. Like, we're all thinking in those terms. It is time, folks. I'm not going to go into it as much as I did on Edgar Casey, but I'm going to keep reminding people that it's time to, for those especially who have been already in the quote-unquote awakening process for 3 or plus years, it is time for them to definitely level up more into a mentorship or leadership role or community role or what have you, because we have to be there for when all the others start showing up, right? It really is, guys. This is, as we're going to learn in the Edgar Casey on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. this coming week, we're not here for us. We have to focus on us, heal us, become our true authentic self, and our true authentic self is not here for just us. It's here for the planet. It's here for humanity, right? Humanity taking care of humanity. And that Edgar Casey, as we learn, refers to it as the soul, your soul, came here with a job to do, with quote unquote, how people like to say, purpose. That is, he says it's your ticket here, right? I want to put a couple of things out there that it's not that I don't understand the times that we're living in and that I don't understand the energies. I do. But I find it interesting because last time on Wednesday I kept referring to not just, kind of level up, but what it really is step out of your comfort zone, right? And what dawned on me after I said all that stuff, what it dawned on me is that when us humans hear that, step out of your comfort zone, we automatically, because we live in this polarity world, think that the zone after that we not need to step into is going to not be comfortable. It's going to be horrible. Why do we do that? It's not. If you truly, as I explained before, your soul made the decision, your soul made the commitment to its job already in August, I believe, of 2019, it already made the decision for you to become your future higher self, for you to start doing your job, right? Start doing and living your purpose. So let's say we do step out of our comfort zone and into that, right? Into that. things will work so much easier, so much nicer, so much more pleasant, happiness, joy, peace. It's not when we're so prone that when we hear that, step out of your comfort zone. Do you think that the next zone is going to be horrible? It's not. Or a struggle. I'm literally saying do the exact opposite. Get out of your comfort zone to step into the zone that you're supposed to be in. Right? But I realize that. I realize people still think that way. So let's read this card again. Prosperity. Prosperity. Because the money is supposed to be flipping too. We definitely are not there yet because not enough people are doing what brings them joy. Prosperity. Number 36. The frequency of prosperity supports our feeling of well-being by allowing the inclusion of everything that makes our body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit sing. That brings us joy. That makes our spirit sing. It invites us to express ourselves in joy and celebration of the abundance and riches that the universe provides. This is what I'm asking people to do. This is what I'm asking people to do. Step into your joy. Step into your joy. Your comfort zone that you've been in, which I completely understand. I really do. The comfort zone that you've been in has served a lot of purposes, has served you in many ways. It's now time to lay that down and start serving yourself in your joy. Because when we do that, prosperity comes. Joy for yourself and others come. We live greatly more in love than we do in fear. All of the above. And this is Hermetics. This is the sacred geometry of prosperity right there. Look at all those colors. My goodness. Look at all that's going on there. This is one of there's a few cards in this deck of sacred geometry that incorporate so much color and life and creation and beauty. And when we talk about Hermetics and we talk about everything is vibration, everything is vibration, everything is frequency. Remember your mental, right? Your consciousness is frequency, and the vibration that it transmits out is what creates. And look at this. This is wonderful. And it literally said, it invites us to express ourselves in joy. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And that's what I've been asking people to do. I do understand for many also, and I want to put this out there because I know I've mentioned it, a little bit difficult, but hear me out, because I even am kind of in this last stage process and was like, oh, okay. I know I've mentioned this a million times before, but I'll say it again because things get lost in the mix, right? Our karma, and I also think people might not understand what I'm saying here, so I'm going to break it down a little bit more in simpler words. Our karma was completely canceled in like 2018, 17, 18. Man, my 2018, don't quote me on years anymore. I can't, my brain's not working that way. But your karma, my karma, completely canceled. What that means, okay, hear me out. What that means is moving forward in this life or next, you're not bound to a concept like karma. But what we're all experiencing in so many ways is because we've lived so many lifetimes, so many lifetimes, so many lifetimes in this cycle, working in the concept of karma and resolving karma and living karma, right? That currently, probably for at least the next 3 years, depending on where you're at, right? I'm finishing mine very soon, except the main scope of mine. But I'm finishing up, and when I mean finishing up, right? It's all canceled. It is canceled. We don't have to live with that on us anymore. But because we came into this life with it in progress, with it in motion, with it in our soul contracts, with it here, with it there, right? The residual is still in effect. The residue is still in effect. The resolve still has to take place. That's why you might hear a lot of people out there talking about that this life is to finish up their karma, right? You might hear a lot of people say that. That's actually happening with everybody across the board. So, especially kind of now through, well, it might be actually even 4 years for some people, depending on where we are. It's going to be very much more at the forefront, the resolve, because there does need to be resolve. The resolve of things of it, right? So then we really do flush it all out and begin to live without that concept, because it is canceled. So the way you might want to look at it is like, you know, when you put in your 2 weeks notice, or you go to retire, or like your job is done. Like that, the stuff is done really in your mind. Like I gave you my 2 weeks notice. I don't, what am I even still coming here for? But there's stuff that still needs to be finished up by you. You might have to train the new person. You might have to finish up that project. You might have to make sure all the documentation and everything's done before you fully leave. That's kind of the scenario that is the same as what's going on with our karma right now. It's done. You put in your notice, it's done. You're not going to be living with it post like that 2 weeks, right? So everybody's kind of in their different zone of what that looks like. And we all know too that, let's say, using this example, that when you put in your 2 weeks, your mind is like, why am I still doing this? You're just waiting for that last day. You're waiting for that cake that tells you goodbye, right? We're all doing that too. So it's kind of like that. It feels like that last 2 weeks of like, why did you just dump that on my desk? I'm gone in 2 weeks. So why are you giving me more crap? I'm gone in 2 weeks, right? And I'm sure many people can relate to this somewhere along the line. In some kind of fashion, right? Or even right now it's graduation for a lot of people. The last 2 weeks of school, the teachers that still give you a bunch of homework. Why are you doing that? This is my last 2 weeks of school, right? That's kind of where we're at right now. Why is this being dumped on me? Why is there all this stuff happening? Why is there things happening over there, this happening over there, blah, blah, blah? It's because we are all in the motion of doing the last resolve and release and clearing of karma, because we will not be taking it with us, hopefully. And that's where we're at right now. It is a choice. And remember, all of this truly boils down to, are you living and operating and thinking and being more in love or in fear? It can be that simple. It can be very simple. Very, very simple. So, Oh, Brandon, I saw you come in. Good to see you, my dear. So this is going to be very much so just a Hermetic rant. I am just going to stay in the Corpus Hermetica. Um, and who knows how long I'm going to go. Because my flame is on fire, guys. Because it is time. It is time that we all kind of step out of our comfort zone into the zone of living our joy. Living our joy, because it actually helps everyone. So, the Corpus Hermeticum. Do. Getting into Hermes and Hermetics. That's what we do. Now, we had been in here previously. As I kind of had held this up before, the material in here could be a discussion between Hermes and the divine Oleander. That's what this is. If you guys want to see, I'll hold the book up. I'm holding the book actually up in case you want to see what I'm reading from. And I am on, you just asked what page. I think I'm starting on either 78 or 79. I'm kind of looking at, so they brought us here before. Remember when I kind of kept going into, and if you do not equal yourself to God, you will not understand God. That's where we're at, and we're going to be headed there again. I'm just backing up the truck. I'm just backing it up some so people can even understand more so. Okay, you beautifuls, and I'm going to read. So how this reads, though, is that it's conversations, and it's written even, if anybody reads Plato or any of the older philosophers, and how that would kind of go as like a conversation. This is similar to that, even more plainly, and I know in today's world it's kind of hard to track where things are going. There's been more contemporary writers that write like that as well, but people also find them a bit hard because it's just chunk after chunk, and each little line you can think about and dissect and try to understand. So it is a little bit more taxing for folks. I do suggest, though, especially when you get into things like that, more ancient texts that are not so much story based, but more that kind of like a listing or a conversation. Oftentimes it was a conversation being written down or dictated or what have you. It's much harder to track by just listening to it. So I do suggest, I'm sure you can probably Google this and get a copy of it. It's not like you can't. I'm sure you probably can. I like paper form because I do what I do here. But I do suggest reading, because especially with, like I said, if it's not in story form, it's much harder to grasp what's going on. So, page 79. I'm going to jump into, yeah, Shelley, so do I. So 79:55. For all things are full of light, but the fire is nowhere. For the friendship and opposition and alike become light shining from the operation of God, the Father of all good, the Prince of all order, the ruler of the seven worlds. I want to point out the seven worlds come up for a moment here. That's not where I'm going into today. But you want to know what's funny? Last night I'm outside on my back deck doing my thing. And I went, huh, if I turned to the world right now and said, you know, seventh heaven, if I turned to the world and said seventh heaven, a whole lot of people would be like, yeah, yeah, like they would know of roughly, at least they've heard that term before, seventh heaven. But if I turn to anybody and I say, seventh dimensional consciousness can be tangible in form, no. Bug-eyed what? What? Seventh heaven, new earth, seventh heaven can be tangible. Seventh dimensional consciousness frequency creating form out of the formless new earth. Same exact thing. That's what happens when I sit on my back deck after dinner. Thoughts like that. So they do talk about the ruler of the seven worlds. Okay, God Almighty. And yes, they do reference God the Father, aspects like this. I mean, this is written in the 3rd century AD. Just roll with it. Source. Okay? Source. Look also upon the moon, the forerunner of them all, the instrument of nature, and which changes the matter here below. Preach, Hermes. You guys know I love the moon. All of my patrons have taken the moon manifesting class. They know. Look upon the moon, the forerunner of them all, the instrument of nature, and which changes the matter here below. Behold the earth, the middle of the whole. I've been trying to tell you guys for weeks now, we are middle earth, right? That's why it's termed that way. We are the middle, because as above, so below, as below, so above. We are middle ground, and that's why it matters as within, so without, because what happens here makes a whole lot of other things go around. Behold the earth, the middle of the whole, the firm and stable foundation of the fair world, the feather and the nurse of the earthly things. Consider moreover how great the multitude is of immortal living things, and of mortal ones also, and see the moon going about in the midst of both, to wit, of things immortal and mortal. To wit. To wit came from witness, or the wit. Okay, so wit is first, then witness, but that's also where we get the term like, oh, that person has wit, they're clever, they're intelligent. That's where it comes from as well. So we got two separate things. Intelligent witnessing. That's what the moon does. Of the immortal and the mortal. But all things are full of soul, and all things are properly moved by it. Some things about the heaven, and some things about the earth, and neither of those on the right hand to the left, nor those on the left hand to the right, nor those things that are above downward, nor those things that are above upwards. That is a lot of words to describe the all. Your right hand and your left hand are of the same body. That's what they're trying to explain. Your left hand and your right hand are of the same body. That is above compared to that is below is of the same body, of the same matter, of the same source, of the same soul. And you all are very intelligent, so I know you understand these things. And all these things are made. O beloved Hermes, you need not learn of me. For they are bodies, and they have a soul, and are moved. Why do you think it says that? O beloved Hermes, you need not learn of me. This is the great Polyander talking. You need not to learn of me. Because it's great who he's communicating with, the dragon that he's communicating with, right? At the same time, you already know this stuff. You need not to learn of me. If anything, learn of the moon, of the earth, of the seventh heaven. Learn of that. And you already know it because the right hand and the left are all of the same body. You are of the all. Your soul knows. For they are bodies and have a soul and are moved. And that all these should come together into one. That is impossible without something to gather them together. So then he jumps right into, you don't need to really learn about me because you are me. All these are going to become one. All these bodies and souls, all the bodies, and guys, that's earth body, moon body, all bodies, your body, ashes to ash, dust to dust. We dissolve back into the earth because we're part of the same body. Bodies have a soul, and they all move. This is why it's difficult for me when people say there is no such thing as time. Because if there was no such thing as time, there would be no such thing as movement. If there is no time, then there is no space, and then there's no movement. And let me tell you, there's definitely movement. And that all these should come together into one. It is impossible without something to gather them together. Therefore, there must be some such ones, and he, altogether one, God. I don't know how many times I have to read that. Therefore, there must, there's a must word, and when I said to many people long ago, and I'm going to say it again, when you're reading material and the word must is there, then we must pay attention to it. Okay, if you guys want to know how I read, I'll read the material. I just get it, I kind of get it through it. I just read the material, the black and white on the page. Then my second round, every time I see the word must, I circle it. No matter what kind of ancient text, no matter what I'm reading, if I see the word, that's not fiction, right? If I see the word must, then my second go around, I circle it. And I pay attention to that. And then my third round, because I do normally read things at least 3 times, I do things in threes, the power of 3. Then, when I go back the third time, and I'm reading through all the black and white words on the page again, then I can put all the dots together to connect the must. Because the must, that's a very powerful word. Therefore, there must be some such ones, plural, ones, and he, altogether, one, God. So God must be made up of all these ones. For seeing that the motions are differentiated and plural, and the bodies not alike, and yet one order, swiftness among them all, It is impossible there should be two or more makers. So, he is trying to say one source. One source. So how this should really be broken down, you're a one, I'm a one. Y'all are ones. One, right? Individual. Singular. You are a singular one. Yay, singular one. Take care of that one. Live your joy. And then everybody else is a singular one. But as a collective, we're ones, plural. Right? And source, the body's not alike. So we're not the same as Mother Earth entirely. We got arms, we got all sorts of stuff going on. We're not the same as other beings. We're not the same as this. We're not the same as that. They're not the same as us. We see that depiction in the actual human race. That's why we all do look differently. That's why we all speak differently. That's what's going on there. Now, is it going to essentially be that always? Maybe not. But by that time, it's not a brave new world. We've already moved on. We're helping the next cycle. So let's not worry about what Huxley says. It's not a brave new world like that. Let's not do that to ourselves. But we all look different, feel different, speak different, live different. Beautiful, you singular being self. Because I appreciate and adore being here with you. Because you are a part of the collective, the all. Bodies not alike, yet one order, and this is interesting, one order, swiftness, so that's motion, vibration, remember? All creation is vibration, and to what degree and how fast the motion, and what kind of motion it is. Order, swiftness among them all. So there is order, moving. It is impossible there should be two or more makers. Meaning there is really only one actual maker. But swiftness and order, motion and order, balance and order, Toth would refer to it as balance and order is the law of the cosmos. This is why I say there is such a thing as time. But people get caught up on the physics and the concept of just now learning how our ideals and thoughts about it are not accurate. Yeah, they're not. They're not. They're not. And most people, even from where you think you are learning, you still got to keep going. So, but there is a thing called time. we don't use the words like there is no time. If there is no time, there literally can't be creation. I mean, that it's so frustrating for me. I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna take a breath. That, and many of you here have heard me rant about that constantly. So, like how all ancient masters, texts, whatever, even Hermetics, Toth, it doesn't matter what I'm trying to teach out of, it doesn't matter the material. They will all say time is what kind of holds things in place as far as the motion of the vibration. So, and they will also all say you can't have infinity, you can't have, you can't have it if there's no such thing as a concept of time. It's very frustrating because every time, as I repeat the word, when we say things like that, we have no idea that we have the potential to stop it then. When we say there's no time, well then you're going to stop it. Stop your concept of it, which affects the all. And that just means ending a cycle. That's what people don't understand. That means ending a cycle. Because it's going to keep going. But if everybody wants to stop where they're at and say there's no time and not believe the motion that they're in, the creation motion that they're in, vibration and frequency, and they keep saying things like that, that just will stop the cycle. Done. That we really got to pay attention to our words, because that's becoming very popular. And I guess because people are just now learning. So accept the fact that you're learning, and maybe keep the wordplay at bay until you really learn some more. That was mean. I'm sorry. That was mean. Well, because they don't know. They don't know. So there's only one maker. For the one order is not kept by many. But in the weaker there will be jealousy of the stronger, and hence also contentions. And if there were one maker, the malleable, mortal living ways, he would desire also to make immortal ones, as he that were the maker of immortal ones would do to make mortal. Blah, blah, blah. That's just, they keep just trying to say there is a source, but we're all connected. He wouldn't make immortal and not make mortal, right? And it's the weaker of all of this that lives in the jealousy and the contentions. Moreover, also, if there were two, the matter of being one, who would be chief or have power over the course of events? So if there were two, actually there's a lot of native stories about this as well. And also in the Bible too, you know. If there were two, then who would be above the other? Now I will tell you, they are still trying to reference, they're trying to get Hermes to the point that all of us are source. That it's not just one, it's not just two, there is one ultimate. Within that ultimate are the mortals and the immortals, the bodies and the souls, the singular and the collective. Or if both of them, which of them greater part? I will tell you, even physics can even prove this. And I remember when I learned this, and man, the meditations that came out of this. If we can remember just this phrase, the sum, so the whole, the sum, is no greater than its parts. A whole, a sum, a God, a collective of no separation of all things that are energy. The whole is no greater than its parts. All the parts are there, the order of the cosmos, all the parts are there. All the parts, you are a part, you're a part of this. All the parts are there to make the whole. And the whole cannot be greater than its parts. And a part definitely can't be greater than the whole. Takes everybody. Takes everybody. But I think thus that every living body has its consistence of matter and soul, and of that which is immortal, and that which is mortal and unreasonable. So hear me out. They wanted to go to the collective, the all energy. All energy is God. That's why you're a part of God, right? Now they're bringing it back to the individual. Bringing it back to the individual. Because even for your singular self, your individual self, your whole is no greater than your parts. Mind, body, soul, the pyramid of ascension, is no greater than its parts, right? So now they're bringing it back to us. But I think thus that every living body has its consistence of matter and soul, and of that which is immortal, spirit, soul, right? And that which is mortal and unreasonable. We got some unreasonable parts now, don't we? For all living bodies have a soul, and those things that are not living are only matter by itself. And the soul likewise of itself, drawing near her maker. I want to point out they reference the soul in feminine energy. Feminine is creation energy. Your soul is a part of creation. We create when we are living our soul's joy. And the soul likewise of itself, drawing near her maker, is the cause of life and being. And being the cause of life is, after a manner, the cause of immortal things. So then they pose a question. I need to break this down just for a moment. And the soul likewise of itself, drawing near her maker. You're not here to live for your singular self. Her maker is still, the soul's maker, is still of the all. Is the cause of life and being. Remember, we talk a lot about cause and effect here. And, well, I'll keep going. And the being the cause of life is. So the cause of your life is the soul drawing near to her maker, after a manner, the cause of immortal things. The things that continue on, the things that are created, the things of cause and effect based out of your soul. This is, at the very beginning, I talked about how karma is canceled. Prior to this moment in time, really, the energies that are available to us do not do the same thing over and over again, because that's insanity. That's why the world is insane, apparently. Our karma is canceled. Our karma is canceled because our souls are desiring and finally have made the commitment to themselves to live their cause, why they came, drawing near to her maker, why they came. And because we're starting to do that, hopefully, right? We are creating new causes and effects, hence also new creation, hence what is immortal. We are. I believe. I want to put something out there about cause and effect, though, because this became very apparent to me in the last month or two. I truly believe more of the world has now, no matter what their school of thought actually kind of is, but I believe because of what has transpired and what they've witnessed. Witness is also implies intelligence, right? Because, anyways, perception and creation. But anyways, out of all that, I do believe people are understanding cause and effect much more clearly and in depth now. That, even if they're conscious of it or not. I do believe that. The difference, though, that I have just become aware of, that I didn't even know would be on the table still. The difference, though, that I've witnessed, so I know it's still out there, is okay. So you might understand that cause and effect is a thing, right? You see it play out into the world, right? You see it play out in your own life, right? The missing key, the missing link to kind of moving forward, apparently, is that people are still not understanding that their actions affect others. That personal responsibility, that part is still quote unquote being missed. In the way that, as I have perceived in the past 2-3 months, that people are still going, oh no, my actions only affect me, my singular self, or it's other people, places, and things affecting me. There's a lack of personal responsibility that what we do affects the all. What we do affects the all, and vice versa. But we tend to only either stick with ourselves, our singular selves, like I only affect my own space, or if we are feeling the effects of other things, we blame it on them, right? That is not accurate. So, am I gloriously happy that people are understanding cause and effect more? Yeah, that's some old school stuff. Y'all gotta need to know it. Like, it's a thing. It's a law. It's how everything works, really. But we need to now attach to it that our actions affect others, good, bad, and indifferent, right? We need to at least acknowledge and accept that that is how it works. All of our little bubbles are attached to all the other little bubbles. So, that I believe still needs to be learned. I'm throwing that out there. I'm going to take a drink of water. I love you all so dearly. Your actions do affect others. And I will tell you guys, to be sincere, to be honest, I didn't think that. Like the majority of, well, now I'm kind of stepping into, I'm living more years in that acknowledgement than not, you know. But when I first really had to acknowledge that and understand that, because I kind of put it in my mind at a very young age that none of this was real. I really did. Not this whole life that I'm living and all of this playing out, none of this is real. Like by the age of like 6, I took the concept of what is called the Matrix now, because it wasn't even a term back then. I took it into a very a massive extent, and I lived my life that way. Not thinking that my actions didn't affect anything because none of this is real. None of this matters. I can do whatever the hell I want because none of this actually matters. So mine was extreme, right? And so when I had to really acknowledge, no, we are all connected. What I do affects others. What they do affects me. All order. That is the order of things, cause and effect. So we got to change the cause. We got to start living that soul cause. I will tell you, when I had to do that and first acknowledge it, like really acknowledge it, because I dismissed it for a good part. I was like 26 or something when it was like, what do you mean this is real? That's how bad it was. What do you mean this is real? None of this is real. What I do doesn't matter. Nothing's happening because this place isn't real. That's how bad I lived my life. And so I do understand that when you gotta kind of swallow that pill of accepting and knowing that your actions affect a much greater scale, because the whole is no greater than the sum of its parts, and you're a part of that whole, Yeah, that's a very big pill to swallow. Because, you know why? A whole bunch of our parts are unreasonable. I was extremely unreasonable. I did a lot of damage. Unreasonable. And I did a lot of damage because, in my mind, none of this matters. None of this is real. I did a lot of damage. So I do appreciate and understand and have empathy and sympathy for that pill that needs to be swallowed. But hot damn, if I can say it, it needs to be swallowed. All of our actions affect others because we are part of the whole. That was a little rant. I did put the word, I think, rant in this. So then they ask, how then are mortal spirits different from immortal? I knew you guys were all wondering that. How are mortal spirits different than immortal? Or how cannot he make living spirits that cause immortal things and immortality? I knew you guys wanted to know. I'm on page 81. There is somebody that does these things, it is apparent, and that he is also one. It is most manifest. For there is one soul, one life, one matter. Who is this? Who can it be other than the one God? For who else can it benefit to make living things save only God alone? There is therefore one God. For it is ridiculous thing to confess the world to be one sun, one moon, one deity, and yet to have I know not how many gods. This, remember, it's a conversation. He therefore being one does all things in many things. And what great thing is it for God to make life and soul and immortality and change, and when yourself do so many things. This is actually where I was brought to starting this morning. So, they ask, what is the difference between mortal and immortal? What, how can he be making living spirits and, but then immortality, mortality, all this stuff? Like, why? What's going on? For there is one soul, one life, one matter. There is no separation. There's no separation between your many lives, your many aspects of your soul self. Your soul is of all the other souls. Your life is of all the other lives. Your lives, other people's lives, one matter. For it is a ridiculous thing to confess the world to be one sun, one moon, one deity, and yet to have I know not how many gods. And he therefore being one does all things in many things. He being the whole of one does all things in many things, all the parts. And what great thing is it for God to make life and soul and immortality and change. I'm so happy the word change is there. This is where they actually brought me right to this morning. Change. When you yourself do so many things. For you see and hear, smell, taste, and feel, move, understand, and breathe. And we have read this before. I'm going to keep going. And it is not one that sees, and another that hears, and another that speaks, and another that feels, and another that smells, and another that walks, and another that understands, and another that breatheth, but one that does all things. Just like the right hand and the left hand are of the same body, just like you breathe, smell, see, taste, touch, the whole of you does many things, so does the whole, which is God. Yet neither can these things possibly be without God. Energy, vibration, frequency, soul, all of it, right? Source. Everybody wants to talk about the source, the light, the light. For as you, if thou shalt cease from doing these things, were not a living spirit. So if God should cease from those, he would not any longer be God. God is all. And if God ceased doing all these many things, time is in there, space is in there, order is in there, balance is in there, everything is in there. If God ceased to do any of them, because he is the greater of the sum, he is the greater of all the parts. He is the parts, all of the parts. He would not be God. For if it be already demonstrated that nothing can be idle or empty, how much more may be affirmed of God? Nothing can be idle or empty. Everything is in motion. Physics has taught us that. And nothing is empty. This whole, the void isn't even empty. The black holes aren't even empty. Nothing is actually empty. For if there be anything which he does not do, then is he would be imperfect. Where else seeing he is not idle, but perfect, certainly he does all things. Now give yourself unto me, Hermes, for a little while. You will thus more easily understand that it is the necessary work of God that all things should be made or done that are done, or were once done, or shall be done. And this, O best beloved, is life. And this is the fair, and this is the good, and this is God. And if you will understand this by work also, mark what happens to yourself when you procreate. And yet, this is not like unto God, for he is not sensible or pleasure, for neither does he have any other fellow workman. I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going. But being himself the only workman, he is always in the work, himself being that which he creates. For all things, if they were separate from him, must inevitably fall and die, as there may be no life in them. And again, if all things be living spirits, both which are in heaven and upon earth, and that there be one life in all things which are made by God, I want to read that again. And there be one life in all things which are made by God, and that God is God, then certainly all things were made or done by God. Life is the union of mind and soul. Life is the union of mind and soul. I have to go back up again to what he just said, and this is what happens a lot with these readings. For all things, if they were separate from him, must inevitably fall and die, as there being no life in them. That's okay, though. That's okay, because watch. And again, if all things be living spirits, but which are in heaven and upon earth, and that there be one life in all things which are made by God, and that is God, and then certainly all things are made or done by God. For all things, if they were separate from him, must elaborate. Sorry. I'm trying to find. Oh, there we go. You will thus more easily understand that it is the necessary work of God that all things should be made or done that are done, and were once done, or shall be done. And this is life. Going back down to the page. So all things in death, in heaven, in earth, in the seven worlds, and all of it, and all of it, in the whole of God, in the whole of God, the big mamma jamma workman, the head honcho, the whole that is not greater than the sum of its parts is life. Life is the union of mind and soul. Life is the union of mind, frequency, right? Because frequency is vibration and vibration is creation. Mind and soul, your flame, soul, what should you be doing? What's going on? Soul, the immortal aspect of the life that you live in the mind that is of creation. But death is not the destruction of those things that were gathered together, but a dissolving of the union. I do want to say lately, for some reason, for maybe a week and a half lately, it's been strongly on my mind that I guess people, I don't know. It's just been strongly on my mind. All energy, right? All creation and energy dissolves into itself. Like the negativity of the world, if just some of us kind of step out of it, don't engage in it type thing, it will eventually dissolve into itself. It just depends on how many people are attached to it as to what that dissolve looks like. How does that dissolve really happen? Right? How much energy is attached to that big ball of negative energy? But if more people would step away, more people would release, more people wouldn't see, because remember, perception is creation. We learn that in physics all the time. The more people would step away from it, well, then it would just dissolve into itself. And that's been on my mind for about, 2 weeks. The energy, all energy does that. That is the ash to ash, dust to dust. We go back to the earth because our bodies are of the earth and we're dissolving back in to itself. It'd be interesting to find out if we can use that as a experience of our life as the union of mind and soul, and understand that energy dissolves into itself. The image, therefore, of God is eternity, of eternity, the world, of the world, the Son and the Son-Man. The image, therefore, of God is eternity. Of eternity. Eternity, you know. The world, we are the image, the world, the world, of the world. So like what's in of the world, right? The Son, and then it's written very interesting, so you can maybe see. It says, of the Son, man. And I mean, oh, I can't even hold this up correctly. Oh my goodness, Miss Lady Jane. And the Son of the Son, man. Of the Son, man. S-U-N. S-U-N for anybody who's reading or listening. But the people say that changing is death, because the body is dissolved, and the life goes into that which is intangible. By this disclosure, my dearest Hermes, I affirm as you hear, that the world is changed, because every day part thereof becomes invisible, but that it is never dissolved. So, he's trying to say that, you know, I guess this is why people are afraid of death, maybe. I don't know, that thought just popped in my head, because everything thereafter, we don't know, it's invisible, so we're afraid of the invisible, but yet, everything that just passed is also invisible. We have to go back in our memory to, you know, see it. Interesting. Affirm as that the world is changed, because every day part thereof becomes invisible, and that it is never dissolved, but yet it is never dissolved. That energy keeps going. So I had a yesterday. I lived it. Can I tell you what I did all yesterday? No, probably not right now in my memory, because it's invisible. It's gone. It's invisible, right? But yet my energy still is present with you right now and today. The energy didn't dissolve, but yet it's invisible. So what they're trying to say is everybody thinks death is this huge big change because it's invisible. And that's BS. Just because you can't see it, just like we can't really remember everything we did yesterday, the energy's still going forward. Same with death. And these are the passions of the world. Yeah. Revolutions and occultations. And revolution is turning, but occultation, that's, you know where we get the word cult? Occultations. Okay? Occultation is renovation. And the world being all formed does not have forms lying without it, but itself changes itself. Itself changes itself. Seeing then the world is all formed, what must he be made of it? For without form he cannot be. And if he be all formed, he will be kept like the world. But if he have but one form, he shall be in this regardless of the world. This just goes into, if you're here and you're in form, you're of the world. And if you're not of this form, you're still a part of this world, still a part of everything. He shall be in this regardless of the world. You're still in your soul. What do we then say that he is? We will not rise any doubts of our speech, for nothing that is doubtful concerning God is yet known. Oh man, dude. And there and he therefore one idea, which is proper to him, which because it is tangible, is not subject to the sight, and yet shows all forms by the bodies. Can I go back up to what do we then say that he is? We will not rise any doubts by our speech. We will not rise any doubts by our speech, for nothing that is doubtful concerning God is yet known. Here's the thing. Yes, the last thing I left people with on Dagger Casey on Wednesday was how doubt is not fear. Doubt is actually not fear. Except when we sit with doubt. For some reason, we then become fearful. Doubt is not fear. Doubt is just not seeing it. Doubt is concerning God is yet unknown, is not yet known. Doubt is just that. I was talking with someone the other day, and we were talking about doubt, right? And doubt will be very present when you're here on this earth. It's very close to our ego and kind of a part of our human experience, right? It doesn't have to captivate your mind and control your mind. Then you're that double-minded man. Or, you're a split mind. That's not good. Doubt, and that's why they often refer to as like evil or Satan or what have you, that energy and experience is actually nothing but doubt. That's what a lot of people will say, and I do agree with it in a lot of ways, because will it be present? Yes, because everything is present in everything at all times, right? But does it have to be in full control? No way, no sir, no how. You can shrink that little doubt down to, if we're using, I don't know how much percentage of your brain you're using, we need to start using more, but let's say if it's 10%, doubt can be like 0.3 of it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to control. So, doubt is not fear. Doubt is just the unknown. That's it. But what we start daydreaming about the unknown and creating out of the unknown is what causes the fear, and then causes more fearful forms of creation. Doubt is just not knowing. That's it. So I was in a conversation last week with somebody that, and when it says in Hermetics, for nothing that is doubtful concerning God is yet known. That just means God, because God is all. God is every vibration. Same as us. Doubt is just that, the unknown, period. So if you can start seeing it that way, like, oh, it's just the unknown. Okay, there's a lot I don't know or see, right? It's just the unknown. It doesn't mean no. It doesn't mean stop. It doesn't mean tragedy. It doesn't mean all the stuff that your brain will come up with. It just literally means the unknown. So, is it going to be present? Yes, because it actually is kind of part of like the ego's job that is there to actually protect us. Hey, that's dangerous. Don't go down that alley, my ego says. Or, hey, that was really physically or verbally abusive to me. That's not a good thing, my ego says. Boundaries, right? Well, doubt is also there only to say, hey, you don't know what's going to happen. And you go, okay, cool. That's all it really is. It could also be that trigger that says, I don't know what's out there. I don't know what's going to happen. I do need to step out of my comfort zone, as Courtney keeps repeating on all of these videos. I do need to step out of my comfort zone. My brain automatically goes to tragedy and fear. But what if the doubt, which is the unknown, if I step out of my comfort zone, is abundance and prosperity that we talked about, and living our joy, right? Doubt is just the unknown. And then, because of our beautiful minds of creation and creativity, we turned it into something way out of its scope. And now fear is there. So, I usually say, when in doubt, dance it out. Because if your doubt starts creating all this crazy stuff, raise your vibrations. Then take a nice good exhale. When in doubt, dance it out. Take a nice good exhale and go, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm good. Who knows? It could be the best thing that ever happened to me. So doubt is actually not a bad thing. It's just the unknown. But man, do we fear the unknown. Someone taught us that somewhere along the line, and I'm going to try to do my damnedest to unteach that, I guess. He therefore one idea, one collective, the whole is no greater than the sum of its parts. One idea, which is proper to him, which, because it is intangible, is not subject to sight, and yet shows all forms by the bodies. There is the first cause. There is the one ideal, the one idea. And it is, we don't know what that is. It's just unknown. We don't know what that is, right? But it is shown in all forms and bodies. This is why the Jews have no word for, this is one of the reasons, by the way. If you get into like Jewish mysticism or their creation stories, because this is why they say there's no such thing as consequence, because there is actually only one ideal to them, right? And it comes from this stuff. So, and if it shows up in all forms of bodies, matter, then it all must be working for that one ideal. And but not wonder if there be a incorrigible, I can't even talk anymore. Let me take some water. Woo! Let me see how further I'm going. How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Good to see you, beloved. Oh my goodness. Yeah, oh man. I was gonna keep going, but I'm getting a little... And do not wonder if there be an I can never say this word. You know what I'm saying. You can't see it. I can't say the word. It's not in your brain. There you go. Ideal. Oh, I can't thank you. For they are like the processions of speech. Incorporeable. Gosh, I can never say that word for some reason. For they are like the processions of speech, which is in writing. For they seem to be high and swelling, but they are by nature smooth and even. So all the things that you cannot comprehend and you cannot fathom in your ideal, in your brain, that you cannot picture and imagine, you cannot comprehend it. They are like processions of speech, which is in writing, for they seem to be high and swelling, but they are by nature smooth and even. Because we live in this polarity world, all these things that we can't comprehend seem to be very high and swelling and intense and out of our reach, right? That's what that would mean, high and swelling, out of our reach and intense swelling, right? And their perception, they're part of our speech, but in reality, by the nature of the things that we don't comprehend, the true reality of them is by nature, smooth and even. It should be very simple. Very simple. But understand well that that I say more boldly, for it is more true. It is more true, as man cannot live without life, so neither can God live not doing good. Just as you and I cannot live without life, we can all understand that. That's easy. That should be blanket. Live, right? Yes, our souls go on and do their thing, but they're talking about here. You can't live without a life here. So neither can God live without doing good. So even though we just said that all the things, when we were talking about the doubt, he has therefore one ideal, one idea, the whole, the great, the source, has one idea which is proper to him, which, because it's intangible to us, we can't feel and sense it, it is not subject to sight, we can't see it, and yet shows in all forms of bodies. So all forms of bodies, for it is more true. As man cannot live without life, so neither can God live not doing good. So actually all the forms and bodies and what we are all doing, our little bubbles, all that's going on, actually is for an ideal that is truly good. That is what makes hard, and why all our processions of speech, because of doubt, because we can't see it, makes everything high and swelling, because we don't trust that all this stuff that we do see is actually for an ideal of good. And so we make it high and swelling and difficult for ourselves, when actually by nature, the law of nature, everything should be smooth and even. The sum is no greater than its parts. For this is, as it were, the life and motion of God, to move all things and give life to them. But some of the things I have said must have a particular explanation. Understand then what I say. All things are in God, not as lying in place, for place is both a body and unchanging, and those things that are placed have no motion. For they lie. My reading is starting to be like, whew, we can do this though, folks. I have a destination here. For they lie otherwise in that which is intangible than in the fantasy or to appearance. Consider him that contains all things, and understand that nothing is more conspicuous than that which is incomparable, nothing more swift, nothing more powerful, but it is more more swift and more strong. And judge this for yourself. We've been here before. I've read this before. So this is when he's saying, you guys aren't really actually, this is why our doubt plays the fantasies. This is why our doubt goes all over the place, because we can't visualize it. We're not seeing it, right? I'm moving back up the page again and rereading. For this is, as it were, the life and motion of God, to move all things and give them and give life to them. And then he starts going into, but because you can't see it because there is also the unchanging, right? There are things that are unchanging, or because you can't see the motion, you can't see where this stuff is headed. Things that are which intangible, then in the fantasy or in the appearance, we start creating all this weird stuff in our brain. Consider him that contains all things, and understand that nothing is more conspicuous than that which is incomparable. All the things that are swift, all the things that move, all the things that you cannot see, incomparable, you cannot comprehend them, are more powerful, more swift, more strong. And judge yourself for this. Command your soul to go into India, and sooner than you commanded, you will be there. We have read this before. Let's keep going. Bid it likewise pass over the ocean, and suddenly it will be there, not as passing from place to place, but suddenly it will be there. It's trying to tell you, if you can get past the body that is kind of fixed here, the body that is really unchanging, it's more of a fixed thing opposed to the swiftness and powerful motion of the incomparable, right? Your body that's more fixed here, if you can get out of that and say you want to go to India, you go to India. This is what remote viewing is really in today's world. And suddenly, if you want to go to the ocean, you go to the ocean. And I will tell you, the Ascended Masters actually did this in bodily form. Buddha, Jesus, all bodily form, they did this too. But we're still working on remote viewing, so that's cool. I mean, do your remote viewing. Command it to fly into heaven, and it will not need any wings. Neither shall anything hinder it. For the fire of the sun, S-U-N, not the ether, not the turning of the spheres, not the bodies of any other stars, but nothing will bother it. Command it to fly into heaven, and it will not need any wings. Neither shall anything hinder it. Not the fire of the sun, not the ether, not the turning of the spheres, not the bodies of any other stars, but cutting through all, it will fly up to the last and furthest body. And if you even wish to break the whole and see those things that are without the world, you are able to do so. In Thoth, this would have been talking about going to the void. If you want to. Thoth, you know how we read from the Emerald Tablets by Durrell type thing. When we got to the part about like the hounds at the borders, there actually is no such thing as that. I mean, I know what he's talking about there. I know what he's trying to propose, because we really shouldn't, if we're not capable, going into the void. If you don't know about your light and how your light is just as powerful as the first light that came through the void. If you don't know that, then don't do it. Because yeah, then it's not going to work out for you, sorry. But if you do, yeah, where do you think where do you think we all came from? You can go right back to it and shine your light and start a whole new creation if you wanted to, because you are the whole. But most people are still at possibly remote viewing. And if you ever wish to break the hole and see those things that are without the world, you are able to do so. Behold how great power, how great swiftness you have, you amazingly motion vibration. Can you do all things and God cannot? So if we're capable of that, imagine if all of our singular selves did something like that and create a whole new thing, right? Create a whole new thing. That's very hard to imagine. I understand for people, very hard to imagine. Let's start at, let's just imagine, as I keep trying to pronounce to people, start living in your joy, doing your joy. That's really one of the first steps. Go for it. Because that's, and acknowledge that your actions affect others. That's where we're at today. After this manner, therefore, contemplate God to have all the whole world to himself, as it were, all thoughts or intellects. If therefore, and this is where I will always bring us back to, and if therefore you do not equal yourself to God, you cannot understand God. For the like is intelligible by the like. Increase yourself onto the immeasurable greatness. Increase yourself onto the immeasurable greatness. That sounds like a big bounty to handle. That seems like a lot to handle. To increase yourself to the immeasurable greatness, to equal yourself to God. Right now, let's step out of our comfort zones and start living in joy. Let's start there. Increase yourself onto the immeasurable greatness, leaping beyond every body and transcending all time. Become eternity, and you then understand God. If you believe in yourself that nothing is impossible, but account yourself as immortal, and that you may understand all things, every art, every science, and every manner and custom of every living thing. Become higher than all height, lower than all depths. Comprehend in yourself the qualities of all the creatures, of the fire, of the water, of the dry and moist, and conceive likewise that you can at once be everywhere, in the sea, in the earth. Then you will at once understand yourself, yet not yet begun in the womb, young, old, and to be dead, all things after death, all these together, as also times, places, deeds, qualities, quantities, or else you cannot understand God. If you do not equal yourself to all of the whole of all of the energies of all of that has ever been created, and if you do not experience it by bringing yourself to the heights and the depths, as above so below, as below so above, as within so without, you are the equal to all of it. Now experience it. If you do not do that, you're never going to actually understand. The Ascended Masters did do that. This is why, and I reference the Bible more often because I know who my viewers more so are, but also because it's easier off the top of my head. This is why Christ would keep saying, I am the truth, the light, and the way. The only way to the Father is through me. Not because he's saving us in some weird sacrificial blood ritual thing that went on that is weird. No, he's literally trying to say, if you want to ascend, come on. If you want to feed all these people, come on. The only way for you to understand that you are also God, because you all seem want to, that's what you're calling me, that I'm a part of God, so are you. This is why he would say, you all will do greater than I, because he was only one that acknowledged it, worked towards it, and went to the heights and the depths and understood and experienced it, and then tried teaching people. This is why he said, you all will do greater than I, because he knew he was only one doing it at the time. When if we all started doing it, we all started going, yeah, death, whatever. We all went, feed people, okay, cool, got it, bam, got it, easy peasy. Oh, cross this water, walk on water, easy. Buddha, get to the other side of the mountain, sure, easy. We all can do that. That's what that was referencing. It had nothing to do with some weird, and then I'm going to be sacrificed and blah. What the what? That story is so ridiculous and crazy that, no, that's what he was referencing. Do as I say, I'm trying to teach you. And you all can be better than I, because you are the many. I am just one guy trying to tell you can. Same right here with Hermetics. Same here with Hermes. Same. Same. This is all the same stuff, man. But if you shut up your soul in the body and abuse it and say, I understand nothing, I can do nothing, I am afraid of the sea, I cannot climb up to heaven, I know not whom I am, I cannot tell what I shall be. What have you to do with God? For you may understand none of those fair and good things, and still be a lover of the body and evil. So if you are not trying to equal yourself to God, if you're not trying to get to the heights and the depths and all around, and to see the great ideal of the all, if you tell yourself you cannot climb up to the heaven, and that you do not know who you are, or I cannot tell what I shall be, then what have you to do with God? What are you doing here? What do you got going on? Because if you keep doing that and you shut your soul up in the body and abuse it and say, I understand nothing, I can do nothing, I'm afraid of the sea, I'm afraid to even attempt to walk across water, because damn, you don't even have a mustard seed of faith of knowing who you are. If you keep doing that, for you may understand none of those fair and good things, and still be a lover of the body and evil. This is the one difference of why a lot of people out there are not seeing all the tragedy, not experiencing what the rest of everybody's experiencing, because they are not shutting up their soul in the body. They're saying, I know who I am the great I am, I'm connected to everything, I can do just as God does, because we are. I am as you are as I am. We see things vastly different. You can see the great ideal. But if you keep telling yourself with that weird thing of doubt that everybody gives it way too much power in their life, you will never understand those that are fair and good. You will not see it. And you will still be a lover of the body and evil. For it is the greatest evil not to know God. But to be able to know and to will and to hope is the straight way, the divine way, the proper to the good. And it will everywhere be with you, and everywhere be seen of you. Plain and easy. Plain and easy. When you do not expect or look for it, it will meet you waking, sleeping, sailing, traveling, by night, by day, when you speak and when you are silent. For there is nothing which is not the image of God. And yet you say God is invisible. But be advised, for who is more manifest than he? For therefore has he made all things, that you by all things may see him. This is the good of God. This is the virtue, to appear and to be seen in all things. There is nothing invisible, no, not of those things that are incorporeal. The mind is seen in understanding, and God is seen in doing or making. And before I go back to our card for a minute, for there is nothing which is not in the image of God. But to be able to know, and to will, to properly use your human free will, to will, and to hope, because we dance out our doubt, to hope is the straight way, is the divine way, is the proper to the good, and it will everywhere be with you, and everywhere be seen of you. Plain and easy. Plain and easy. When you do not expect or look for it, it will meet you in your walking, your sleeping, your sailing, traveling, by night, by day, when you speak and when you are silent. It will meet you. The easy and plain. And remember, going back, for the incorporeal that we were talking about with doubt, for they are like the processions of speech, which is in writing, for they seem to be high and swelling, but they are by nature smooth and even. Is the straight way, the divine way, proper to the good, and it will everywhere be with you, everywhere be seen of you. Plain and easy. The nature of these things is smooth and even. So, my lovelies. I want to remind everyone with this one last thing. Life is the union of mind and soul. And I am trying to say, everybody, start living in that union. Don't shut your body up, or your soul up in your body, and not experience the life that is the union between mind and soul. Don't shut your soul up into the body and not experience it very plain and easily when you do not expect or look for it. It will meet you in your walking, your sleeping, your traveling. It will meet you both day and night. It will meet you when you are speaking, when you are silent. The good, the divine, know it. I'm going to read the card one more time. Please, 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 please consider the words that have been said. The card for today is 36, Prosperity. And now we can see how this beautiful sacred geometry is trying to sum it all up for us. Prosperity, number 36, out of the sacred geometry deck. The frequency of prosperity supports our feeling of well-being, like how it can meet you, plain and easy, your well-being, day, night, talking, silence, sleeping, traveling. The frequency of prosperity supports our feeling of well-being by allowing the inclusion of everything that makes our body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit sing. It invites us to express ourselves in joy and celebration of the abundance and riches that the universe provides. Plain and easy, smooth and even. Oh, that's such a beautiful card. Allowing the inclusion of everything, equaling yourself to God, because there is no separation, because God is the sum of its parts, and the sum cannot be greater than its parts, and you are the parts that is of God. Smooth and easy, plain, simple, prosperity, living in your joy, experiencing the ideal, seeing it, even when doubt is only the unknown, even if we can't see it. Enjoy, and you will see it. So, I love you all so much. What a long show. What a long show, you beautiful stars. Thank you all for stopping by. Robert, I saw you popped in. Beloved, it's always a pleasure to have you, my dear. What a very long show. What a great weekend. Lots to ponder, folks, right? I do understand, yes, you have to possibly listen over and over again. What a lot to ponder. If anything, think about living in your joy. Acknowledge that doubt is not fear. It's just the unknown. Easy peasy. Life is smooth and easy. We feed everyone with 2 fish because there is no difference between us and the all. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You are, you know what, I guess the part about doubt that I think has capsized everybody is doubt feeds into this concept of unworthiness. It really does. It's not fear. Doubt has never been fear. But once we stay with doubt too much, then all those images, because it's the unknown, start creating fear within us. Doubt is truly just the unknown. But for some reason, doubt over time for many people created this unworthy feeling, this unworthy ideal of ourselves. And what's sad about that to me is that if God, the whole, has a grand ideal, and it is good, it will always be good. And if we are parts of that grand ideal, then your living body self life experience is good and fair. It is. And I bet when I just said that, a little bit of doubt went, I don't know. Do you see the world? I'm not sure if I'm that good of a human. I don't know. Do you know what I've done, Courtney? That little bit, when I say, if you are a part, and you are, of the grand ideal, because God is no greater than the sum of its parts, and that ideal is good, 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 then the unknown of your doubt, the unknown of the question, am I good? Am I actually good? I'm going to tell you right now, you are. You are. You are, period. And that's usually where the doubt gets us. Is we're not worthy, we're not good enough, we're not this, we're not that. And that's a whole lot of hogwash, a whole lot of BS that the doubt says. And it's only because we can't see how fair and beautiful and good that we are. I can see it though, because I don't keep my soul locked up, and so I can see it. So if you need to know that, you are fair, good, beautiful, wonderful, you beautiful, beautiful being of light. That is a most definite. So I love you all dearly. Have a great weekend. Cheers. If you think this, if anybody needs this message, which would be a lot probably if they're just starting out, cheers, send it along to them. Please hit the like button, leave comments below if you have anything to say. I would appreciate that. Comments help, of course, in the algorithms. And to everyone, you blessed beings, yes, take care, Abstract. It was good seeing you. Everyone else, have a great weekend. Shelly, also to you, my dear. Peace out, guys. Have a good one.